Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating breakdown from Rise Theory, and it's all about a paradox that, let's be honest, almost all of us face at some point: the downright agonizing silence of unanswered prayers. The source material totally flips the script on this, suggesting that this exact silence, the times when it feels like nobody is listening, might actually be where the most profound hope is hiding. Through a super detailed analysis of a really famous ancient narrative, the text completely reframes how we view waiting, delay, and what's actually happening when the answers we desperately seek seem entirely absent.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if God's silence is actually when he's working the hardest? The source material opens up with this incredibly compelling hook, and it completely challenges our immediate knee-jerk assumption that silence just equals absence. To really bring this to life, the text dives into a story that a lot of people know, but as the source strongly argues, very few actually truly understand. It's the story of a guy named Lazarus. So the narrative kicks off with a severe life or death crisis. Lazarus is sick, like actively dying sick. The text highlights this incredibly desperate plea sent by his sisters, Mary and Martha. They send an urgent message saying, "Lord, the one you love is sick. Please come, please hurry, please save him." Now, keep in mind, they are reaching out to someone who is literally known for instant miracles, opening blind eyes, making the lame walk, the whole shebang. So naturally, their expectation for a rapid rescue mission is incredibly high. They're expecting him to drop everything. But here's the absolute crux of the analysis. Jesus gets this desperate SOS about someone he deeply loves, and he does absolutely nothing. Literally nothing for 2 whole days. The source really emphasizes this deliberate inaction. He stayed exactly where he was, he didn't pack his bags, he didn't respond, just total, complete silence. Let's walk through the crushing chronological progression of this delay because the text really wants us to feel the heavy weight of this timeline. Day 1. The prayer is sent off. The urgency is incredibly real. Day 2. The silence continues, and every single sunset is just another unanswered prayer. Day 3. The absolute worst-case scenario happens. Lazarus dies, and he's buried. He is gone. And then, finally, day 4 is when Jesus actually decides to arrive. The source points out something so real here. Every single hour that passed for Mary and Martha wasn't just waiting. It was an hour of profound, deepening, agonizing pain. By the time Jesus finally shows up on day 4, it just seemingly defies all logic. I mean, it's way too late, right? Martha's immediate reaction really captures that sheer devastation. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." The source text draws our attention to all the complex, messy emotions layered right into this greeting. You can hear the undeniable pain in her voice, deep confusion, and frankly, a little bit of anger. And who could blame her? She's standing face to face with the one person who could have prevented this entire tragedy, but for some reason chose not to. Now, Jesus' reaction to Martha's grief it's just extraordinary. He doesn't get defensive about his delay. He doesn't offer some long, drawn-out philosophical explanation about why this had to happen. Instead, the text highlights what happens next, presenting us with literally the shortest verse in the entire Bible. Jesus wept. Just take a second to really absorb the surprising nature of that response. The source points out the profound empathy happening here. Jesus knew exactly what he was about to do. He knew the story had a good ending, but because he saw their pain, because he felt their very real grief in that moment, he stopped everything to just honor their tears. He didn't rush past their sorrow just to get to the miracle. Let's move to and see how this builds. The text describes Jesus walking right up to the tomb and taking 3 bold, definitive steps. First, he commands them to roll away the heavy stone covering the entrance, totally ignoring Martha's protests that, hey, after 4 days, there is going to be a terrible smell. He just reminds her of the glory of God. Second, he looks up to heaven and prays out loud. And third, he shouts a direct, authoritative command right into the absolute darkness of the tomb. He just shouts this simple, earth-shattering command: "Lazarus, come out." And the climax of this narrative, exactly as the source describes it, is staggering. A dead man literally walks out of his tomb. He is still all wrapped up in his grave clothes, but he is alive, he's breathing, and he is walking. The text beautifully summarizes this epic moment. What death had taken, Jesus gave back. What 4 days of complete darkness had totally swallowed up, he completely released. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the source answers the massive, lingering question hanging over the whole story. Why on earth did he wait? This comparison right here lays out this central thesis. Think about it. If Jesus had rushed over and arrived on day 1, it would have been a really great healing. But as the text notes, it would have been totally explainable. You know how people are. Skeptics would have brushed it off, saying, oh, he probably wasn't that sick anyway. It was just a coincidence. But a day 4 miracle? That is absolutely undeniable. It is logically impossible to explain away. By waiting until there was literally zero hope left, the delay ensured that when the breakthrough finally hit, nobody could take credit for it except God alone. At this point, the source material does something really cool. It pivots right to the modern reader. It speaks directly to you, to us, to anyone who feels exactly like Mary or Martha right now. Maybe you are stuck in your own waiting season. You've been praying the exact same prayer for months, maybe even years. The days just keep passing, nothing is changing, and you're really starting to wonder if God actually hears you, or worse, if he even cares about your situation at all. So, the crucial point is how we interpret that agonizing silence. Our source outlines some absolutely vital truths about this kind of delay. Jesus already knows the exact day he is coming to your situation. He already sees the end from the very beginning, and he has the answer locked and ready. But the most crucial takeaways you need to remember are these. Silence is not rejection, and delay is not denial. His waiting is not him forgetting you. According to the text, the wait is only happening because the impending breakthrough is meant to be completely, 100% undeniable. But the narrative doesn't actually end the second Lazarus walks out of the tomb. There's this fascinating psychological aftermath that the source is quick to point out. When Lazarus emerged, yeah, he was alive, but he was still physically wrapped up in his grave clothes. Jesus didn't just magically zap those off of him. Instead, he commanded the people around Lazarus to unwrap him and let him go. The text suggests something so deep here. God brings the miraculous life, absolutely, but there is still an active process of shedding what used to bind you.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world application for anyone listening right now. The source translates those physical linen wrappings into metaphorical grave clothes. The text argues that a lot of people have already survived their worst moments, like they have been delivered from the tomb, but they are still walking around wearing the identity of their past. They're still all wrapped up in the shame of their failures, those toxic labels other people put on them, the words that cut deep and the rejection that once defined them. The core message here, it is time to let the people around you help you unwrap what simply no longer belongs on you.
As we draw toward the conclusion, the source from Rise Theory issues a really specific, beautiful call to action. They want you to share this message with anyone who feels like they are currently stuck in the absolute misery of their own day 4. The core reminder from the text is just so powerful. Even in the deafening silence, even when the prayer seems completely unanswered, he is weeping with you. That tomb you're looking at, it's never the end of the story. And most importantly, he is already walking toward you. Which brings us to our final thought. The source text firmly asserts that your day 4 is coming. The stone is absolutely about to roll away. But as you prepare for that undeniable breakthrough, I want to leave you with this provocative question from the material to really reflect on today. Your day 4 is coming, but what grave clothes do you need to actively leave behind so you can fully step into that new life? Think about it. Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly powerful perspective with us today. We'll see you next time on The Explainer.